I am Josh Hennig. This is Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And as always, we are live on YouTube. We are live on Twitter. We are live wherever you can get a hold of us, as well as Facebook. A plethora of ways to get a hold of the show. Phillies back in action tonight. We are 1 day away from the first time we see the Nick Sirianni era on the field. So we got a lot to get to with all of that. And of course, it is a Weinberg Wednesday. Dave Weinberg will join us coming up at 6:20, as he does each and every week right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you can join the show, as always, the conversation. You can join us, send a message to the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. We also have the text board, 609-403-0973. And of course, you can join the conversation on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you can join the conversation. So let's get to some of the news and notes off the top here. So those who didn't hear all the details on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, or you didn't get the alert from the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, here's the deal. Andrew McCutchen is back for the Phillies tonight. That's right. Andrew McCutchen will be back in the lineups. This is a big, big boost for the Phils. Here is your full lineup here with McCutchen in the cleanup spot. So we do have that improvement for the Phils lineup. So you have Segura, Romuto, Harper, McCutchen, Bohm at first, DeGregorius, Torres at third, Herrera back in center, and then, of course, the man they acquired at the deadline, Kyle Gibson, who has pitched very well for the Phillies so far, batting in the 9 hole. So some modifications to the lineup. I'm very curious to see what Bohm looks like tonight, because he hasn't played a ton of games at first base. And, you know, if Torres or Didi get one of those wacky hops, they got to go out and make a play, and they got to fling it across the diamond. How's Bohm's scoop game going to go? How is his ability to maneuver around that first base going to go? If he's been in a weird situation, how does that go? You know, I'm very curious to see how this plays out tonight. Now, I told you guys last night, I expected the Phillies to lose that game last night, because I just thought that the Phillies weren't going to be able to hit Scherzer. Well, I was half right. The Phillies didn't score on Scherzer, but they didn't score on the Dodgers bullpen either. And I think last night just proves to you that this team is good enough to win the NL East, because the NL East is just completely below average compared to the rest of baseball. But they are not on the same level as the best teams in the National League. I laid this out for you guys recently on Sports Bash Saturday and here on Game Night, here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I explained to you, listen, if the Dodgers are the best team in baseball, and then the Giants are leading their division, and the Brewers are up there, and the Padres are up there, that means just by process of elimination, there are 4 teams better than you in Major League Baseball. And 3 of them are in one division on the West Coast. So you're in a category with teams like the Reds, the Braves, the Mets, so on and so forth. And I think it's completely fair to say that. So it was no surprise to me they lost the game last night. The better team won. Now, you can win the game tonight for a couple of reasons. One, because I think that David Price is much more hittable at this point in time than Scherzer is. And number 2, I think that you already got into the Dodgers bullpen last night. So they're not going to be as fresh coming into this game tonight. I think both of those can benefit you. And when you look at David Price coming into this game tonight, I think that you have to look at the reality that this is a guy in Price who he's a former Cy Young Award. He's a great pitcher, but being a starter again, it's a different mentality. It's a different way of having to approach the game overall. And I think that at least so far this year, it appears that being a starter is something a Price is still adjusting to. And I think the Phillies could take advantage of that tonight. Plus, having Gibson on the mound is definitely a bonus as well. They have played well with him on the mound so far. And for those of you who are wondering, in the last few games that Price has pitched, from July 9th through August 6th, are the games he has pitched. He has started 5 of those 6 games. In that stretch, he's pitched okay. He's not been, amazing, but in 23 innings pitched, he's allowed 18 hits and 10 runs. So the problem is, though, the Dodgers are 1-5 in those games. So he's pitched well enough for them to win in theory, but the team's not winning with him on the mound. So read into that what you will. But we know that Price, we know what he's capable of at this point in his age, but I think they can still beat him. And I think the Phillies can still walk out of here with a win or two in this series. It's just a matter of, can you do it considering the fact that last night you had to dig in your own bullpen as well. Whose bullpen is going to be more ready to go tonight? Is it going to be the Phillies? Is it going to be the Dodgers? We're going to find out tonight. And like I said before, this series is going to tell you who this team is. We are going to learn exactly what the Phillies are capable of. Again, the National League, I say this is the best team. Dodgers are the best team the National League has to offer. To me, it comes down to the Dodgers, the Brewers, the Giants, and the Padres. And you're playing all of those teams in the next several weeks. You're playing the Dodgers in this series. Next week, you're playing the Padres. A couple of weeks from now, you got to play the Brewers. So you're going to see the best of what the National League has to offer mixed in with what is considered the easiest strength of schedule in baseball. So it's going to be an interesting thing to follow, and we will be following it. I still think the Phillies can win at least one of these 2 games, if not both of them, coming up. And then it comes down to the Red Series, because if reports are 100% that it looks like Matt Moore is going to be starting this weekend, yikes. Because you're not getting easier with the Reds. The Reds have a ton of sluggers. They have tons of dudes who can rake. And when I tell you that Mike Moustakas might be the 3rd or 4th best hitter on that team, that should give you an idea of how deep they are. Because Jesse Winker was an all-star this year. You didn't know who Jesse Winker was before the year. That's how deep they are. They have a guy that you have never heard of in your life out there, bombs out of the ballpark. Joey Votto is on a just absolutely in fuego the last 2 months. You have all of these guys out there just hitting the ball, playing great. So the hitting situation doesn't get easier for you. So you might get an easier pitching situation with the Reds, not an easy hitting situation. So we're going to learn about this team over the next few days. Josh Hennig here on Game Night. 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. You can reach out to the show, of course, through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. You can message the show directly, or you can text us. 609-403-0973 is the text board. And we are, of course, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Now, Eagles back in action tonight here. All the action starting at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow night on 97.3 ESPN. The first preseason game for the Eagles. And one of my biggest questions with this team tomorrow night, to me, is, frankly, the most interesting thing we're all wondering. What is the Nick Sirianni offense and the Jonathan Gannon defense going to look like in real time? We've heard all the reports, how the defense has won many of these practices, how Jalen Hurts has had these flash moments where he's looked really good, and other moments where It just seems like the offense is not on the same page. We know that Brandon Brooks, Isaac Sayamalu, they may not play on Thursday night. So you're already going to be missing two of your starters. And don't forget, you're going to be missing your backup. The backup being Andre Dillard, who is week to week with a knee issue. So you're already going to have some backups in the offensive line. How does that work out for Jalen Hurts? How does he look in his fourth different offense in 40 years? How do they use the running backs? We know that when Sirianni was in Indianapolis and when he was in San Diego and Los Angeles with the Chargers, they liked to use running backs in different roles. They were not a 3-down running back system. They were many times for lack of a better term, almost a running back by committee. Even Jonathan Taylor, who was their leading rusher last year, he didn't play, 85, 90% of the snaps. He was playing closer to 70% because they wanted working guys like Naheem Hines in there to have an impact on the offense. So this will be the first time we see what does Nick Sirianni do with the Eagles running backs. No Devonta Smith, but we are going to see how much play does Travis Fulgham get out there. I have no idea. I'm looking forward to it. Jalen Reagor, what does he look like out there? How long do they leave the first team offense in the game? Personally, I think it should be for the entire first half, but that probably won't happen. It's probably be closer to maybe a quarter and a half in all likelihood. That's my working assumption. And then the defense, what does the defense look like in their first action? Remember, the Steelers have already played one preseason game. They pretty much sat everybody. So this will be probably the first time the Steelers starters get any action this preseason. So what does the Steelers number ones look like the Eagles number ones after they've been so-called dominating and playing excellent against everyone who faced them in camp? What does that translate to the game? I am fascinated to see how that works out. Also, we know that Gannon is not running the wide 9 anymore. So what does that look like with this defensive front? Josh Sweat has played amazing in camp. What does that look like tomorrow night? So wrapping that all up into a nice little bow here. Here are the 3 players I am looking forward to seeing most tomorrow night and how they play out. Number 1, obviously, Jalen Hurts. If you're not looking for Jalen Hurts, I don't know what you're looking for. I mean, that guy is going to be the key to this team's success this year on many fronts. The number 2 player I'm looking to watch for is Jordan Mailata. I want to see what Mailata looks like with 25 pounds lost in the offseason. They say he's in the best shape of his life. They're saying he's been a dominant force in camp. And the third person I want to see is honestly, I want to see Steve Nelson. We've been talking about how having Steve Nelson changes the dynamic for this team, how having Nelson out there makes them better. It brings depth. It allows stability in the secondary. Well, what does he look like in real time? Remember, he was on the Steelers last year. Do they take advantage of him? Do they expose him in this game? Does he bring something to the table they haven't seen before? How do the Eagles match him up? Is it a zone defense? Is it a man defense? Is it half and half? So those are my 3 players I'm going to keep an eye on tomorrow night. And of course, we'll have more about it coming in next. Dave Weinberg joins us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And of course, I'll be filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash all day tomorrow as we get you ready for Eagles football, 6:30 p.m. tomorrow night here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget 97.3 ESPN mobile app for your Phillies, Sixers, Eagles, and Flyers coverage. 97.3 ESPN.com and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And as always, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just follow 97.3 ESPN on YouTube and Twitter to watch the show. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Weinberg Wednesday next.
And football Miles fumbles. The Eagles have it.
Maryland Mike call all the action starting at 7:30 p.m. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here, back on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. And as always, we are live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Each and every Wednesday, we get more into Eagles football and other topics with the one and only Dave Weinberg each week right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, as we are hours away, not days, we're hours away from Eagles back on the field. And actually, the first preseason we've seen in 2 years. And Dave joins us right now on the show, live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And before we get to the particulars, is there a part of you that when there is a game coming up that you get a little more excited, a little bit more interested? Like, you know, people always say, I can't wait for football season. But now that football is actually within reach, it's actually something tangible, does it feel different?
Not so much for the preseason, Josh, to be honest with you. I've been to a lot of them, and the first quarter or so is usually pretty interesting, but then after that, it kind of the excitement kind of fades a little bit. I mean, I'm really anxious for the regular season to start, though. It's been a long time, and I guess maybe the preseason's a little more interesting this year because, like you mentioned, we didn't have one last year, so I am anxious. I'm excited to see some of the players in action on Thursday night.
Yeah, for me, David, it's a curiosity thing. You know,
Sure.
I'm curious to see the Nick Sirianni era. I'm curious to see Jalen Hurts in his fourth different offense in 4 years. I'm curious to see the no Y9 defense anymore, right? You know,
Right.
it's a curiosity factor. Like I'm not going to buy or sell anything at the sports book based on the game, right? But you know, to me, it's just I guess the word I would use is I'm very intrigued by a lot of what ifs.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, you're not going to see a whole lot of creativity from Nick Sirianni or Jonathan Gannon. I mean, teams tend to keep things pretty vanilla in the preseason, give guys just enough that they can handle for a week, and then they'll expand it as they go. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this is Nick Sirianni's first opportunity to show what he can do as a new Eagles coach, and I'm looking forward to watching that too.
Now, one of the things that I was saying before you came on, Dave, is, you know, I want to know what this group looks like out there because we've heard all the reports from camp, and you've seen numerous Eagles training camps over 25 years covering the Eagles, and we hear all these things that happen in camp. You know, this guy's playing well, the defense is playing well, whatever it may be. So how translatable is what has been seen in camp to what we actually see on the field?
That's interesting. You would bring that up. I don't really read a whole lot into what happens in training camp, only because, we'll say the offense is doing, terrific. Well, does that mean that the Eagles defense sucks, or does that mean that the offense is very good, and vice versa? If the Eagles defense is dominating, does that mean the Eagles offense is lacking, or does that mean the defense is really ready to roll? So the fact that they're going against another team, that'll give a really good read as to, what the status of the team is, how the progress that they're making or lack thereof. Just going against a guy and wearing another uniform is a big deal. I mean, it's been a while since they've had a chance to do that. So I will read more into what happens in the preseason than I would during a training camp, by and large.
I'm glad you said that because, one of the things that's been coming out of training camp is how well the defense is playing on the flip side of what you said. And that, one of my questions is, well, is the defense playing well because the offense is still getting their feet wet, or
Right.
is the defense playing well because, Jalen Hurts is in his fourth different offense, or is the defense playing well because Nick Sirianni is still installing the offense, whatever it may be? Like, sometimes I feel like we see things happen in a practice or a camp, but it's not always applicable in the game. So that's why, to me, I'm with you. I think tomorrow is going to give us a lot more information than we've had the last 2 weeks.
Right, like in training camp, I mean, the defense, they've been around the Eagles offense enough to know what's coming, so they can anticipate and capitalize on that kind of stuff. Plus, the Eagles offense is kind of a work in progress. I mean, Jalen Reagor got off to a very slow start. He reported to camp out of shape. Devontae Smith is on the sideline, so you're not going to know what he's going to do. So, they've been mixing and matching a lot of stuff. So it's really hard to say what the Eagles offense is yet, and you probably won't know for another couple weeks.
Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Give him a follow there. Dave, one of the other things I'm curious about, I mentioned with Jalen Hurts just a moment ago. I think one of the things that gets overlooked is that this will be his fourth different offense.
Mm-hmm.
This will be a young man who he didn't really have an offseason last year, not a traditional one to say the least.
Right.
And let's be realistic. The NFL is different than college. People can say all they want, but the game speed is different. The way you have to process is different. And listen, I love him as a leader. I love his personality. I love his attitude. I love what he did yesterday when Darius Slay was trying to troll him walking around. I don't know if you saw it, the video, but for those who didn't see it, Darius Slay grabbed the Hurts jersey, slapped his name tag on the back, and walked around Hurts' press conference, basically taunting him. And Hurts basically told him to take off his jersey. And when the Slay was gone, he turns back to the reporter and says, "Can you repeat your question now the distraction is gone?" I love how he handles his business, but I want to see how this plays out, because we know that it doesn't matter how intelligent, how great of a leader you are, the NFL can eat you alive, Dave.
Yeah, it can. But you saw a taste of it last year. I mean, he got his feet wet at the end of last season, and I think he proved that the NFL was not too big for him. That he's ready to step up to the next level too. I mean, he had his ups and downs. He had some great games. He had some not so great games. But by and large, I think for the most part, he showed that he's an NFL player, and he proved that last year. And I'm just looking forward to seeing his progress this year. Like you said, fourth new offense in 4 years, whole new terminology system. So it's going to take a little bit of time for him to master it, but I have no doubt that he will. I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan, to be honest with you. I like you mentioned, he's a tremendous leader, and he showed in that clip that he's a no nonsense kind of guy. He's going to have fun, but he knows when it's time to get down to business. So he's not going to let anybody make fun of him or take advantage of him, and I think that's a good trait to have in a quarterback and as a leader too.
Who is a player that we haven't discussed yet that you're looking forward to seeing tomorrow who's not named Jalen Hurts?
Well, I listed a couple. Josh Sweat is one that intrigues me. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get, but from what I understand, he's had a pretty good training camp to this point. Again, take that with a grain of salt, but he had a pretty good year last year, I thought, in a rotational role. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to see how he fares. Jordan Mailata, he's gotten a lot of attention, with his battle with Andre Dillard. So I'm kind of looking to see how both of those guys play tomorrow. See if if Dillard can maybe close the gap a little bit in that duel. There's a couple guys. I mean, Jalen Reagor didn't have a preseason last year, so I'd like to see what he can do. And of course, Jalen Hurts. Everybody knows that all eyes are going to be in him. And on a local level, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Abdullah Anderson, who plays for the Steelers. He's in his first year of the Steelers, trying to earn a job as a backup role, maybe practice squad guy, Absegami High School graduate. And so I'm going to be watching him too.
Yeah, he had a sack last week in the Hall of Fame game. And for those who didn't get to see it, the video is on 97.3 ESPN.com. It's hilarious listening to Joe Buck describe it, because he basically says, basically describes it as, Anderson basically blindsiding DiNucci. When they show it in slow-mo, like DiNucci had no idea it was coming. So
how about that?
It's a fun video to watch. It's over on the website, because I just, me, Dave, I'm one of those people, I enjoy seeing the local guys do well.
Me too.
No matter any way at the next level. And, someone who's a good person like Abdullah Anderson is as well. I got to chat with him about a month ago locally at an establishment. And, it's just, he's a good human being. And I just want to see him do well.
Yeah, me too. I root for all the local guys. And I'm kind of disappointed that Raquel Armstead hasn't gotten an opportunity to after the Jaguars let him go. He was with the Giants for about 15 minutes and they let him go. I know he was really heavily affected by COVID. I had it twice, as a matter of fact. So,
right.
But I'm hoping that some team is going to give him an opportunity, because I do think that he's an NFL running back. All he needs is another chance, and I'm hoping that he gets it at some point.
And we know that Jack Crawford signed late last night with the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, no kidding! I didn't know that.
Yeah, he just signed. It was after 8 p.m. Eastern time when the Cardinals announced it. So.
Oh wow.
Not
it's one of these anymore. Huh?
No, he's not. But the Cardinals need some defensive line help. They had to stick somebody on the injured reserve list, and he signed just in time for, ironically, to go against one of his former teams in the preseason Friday night versus the Cowboys. So there you go.
There's a lot of former teams in Jack, but yeah, that's great. I mean, he's a testament to what you can accomplish if you just persevere and dedicate yourself. I mean, he never played football in his life. Coming over from England, he came to St. Augustine Prep as a basketball player. Wound up not being eligible to play and joined the football team, went from there to Penn State. From there to Atlanta. No,
He got drafted by the Raiders.
The Raiders,
Yeah.
Raiders, Cowboys, Falcons,
Then Falcons,
Titans. And now he's getting the chance with the Cardinals. I think this might be his 10th year, which is incredible when you consider that, because the shelf life of an NFL player is like 5 years maybe. So for him to last a decade, that's a real tribute to him.
Yeah, he's on his 5th different NFL team training camp with the Cardinals. So, and by the way, it's not a bad gig. Last year you had Mike Vrabel as your head coach. This year you're playing, potentially working next to JJ Watt. So
sure,
not a bad last 2 years for Jack Crawford, to say the least.
Very true. Yep.
Dave Weinberg joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Dave, the Phillies finally lost last night, but they are in a very interesting situation, because if you go by the odds makers, Bryce Harper, Zach Wheeler both have a chance right now to win their big respective awards. Zach Wheeler is considered the favorite for the Cy Young right now with no DeGrom around. And you have a guy in Harper who, if Fernando Tatis stays injured, Harper could slide right in there for the MVP. And the last time the Phillies had a Cy Young and MVP on the same team was 1980. A couple of Hall of Famers, Steve Carlton and Mike Schmidt.
Right. That's interesting. Harper certainly didn't show it last night, but he is having a very good year. I guess I never really, to be honest with you, I never thought of him in the MVP conversation, but I guess you have to now. And Wheeler, you're right. I mean, he's had an outstanding season. He's definitely among the front runners, if not the front runner. So it'd be interesting to see how that all pans out. I never even thought about that. But yeah, it's been a long time since the Phillies have had 2 of those. That's true. On the same team.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I was mentioning this last night. As Dave Weinberg has
excuse my phone now. That's right. Go ahead.
Your phone wants to get a word.
I'm one of the 2 people in the country with a landline. So there you go.
Well, I'm the third person then. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I have but part of that's because the house is in the middle of nowhere. When you live in Belle Plaine, you don't exactly have the greatest cell phone signal. So.
Oh my goodness, Belle Plaine. Yeah, that's out there. That's for sure.
Yeah. So
do they have running water there and stuff? Or
well, it's well water. It's well water. Okay. So
enough said.
But anyway, so what I was saying is that, to me, I think Wheeler has a much better chance of winning his award than Harper does, obviously.
Right.
Although Tom Moore from the Bucks County Courier Times shot me down last night, to me, I think it's a Wheeler 85%, a Harper 50% chance. And Tom told me it's probably less than that, but I told him we'd agree to disagree. So
that's okay. Yeah, at least I think you might be right there. I think Wheeler has the better chance.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I know this is probably like a controversial topic, but there is no way they should have retired Roy Halladay's number. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't get it at all. Why they did that.
Well, I mean, I can give you the talking points reason. It's one of those things where he was an endearing figure. He had a very short but very memorable career in Philadelphia, and a lot of people felt like they should honor him after he passed away. That's why.
Then put him in the Wall of Fame if you want to. But I mean, there were 6 guys before him that got their numbers retired. And, you're talking about like the legends of the Phillies. Richie Asper, Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton. Like you mentioned, he had a short career in Philly. Granted, he had a great year in 2010, and a very good year in 2011. The last 2 years, not so much. I just don't think he's a Toronto Blue Jay in my eyes, and I just don't think he was here long enough to merit that kind of a prestigious award to have your number retired. And I just can't. If you look at, like, say, it's statistics, a buddy of mine did that. You compare his stats with John Denny or Cliff Lee, and you'll find that Cliff Lee blows him out of the water. And but his number's not retired, so I don't get it. I mean, I understand wanting to honor the guy. If you want to have a ceremony and you want to put him in the Wall of Fame, I think they might have done that already. I don't know, but then go ahead. But the number thing, I just don't agree with it at all.
I would say this, and how about this? I'll pile on to your controversy. How about that?
Okay.
If Roy Halladay was still alive, his number wouldn't be retired.
No, absolutely not. You're right. I mean, it's the circumstances of his passing, which are controversial in of itself. would kind of maybe put that's probably has a major reason for why he's there, why they did it. You're right, but I think it's an overreaction. Honestly, that's just me though. I mean, granted, he was a great player. He was,
Yeah.
Hall of Famer, no doubt. But with the Toronto Blue Jays, not with the Phillies.
Well, and also the fact that, his number gets retired. He mentioned how few guys had the number retired before two guys who won MVPs in Phillies uniforms. I think that, Jimmy Rollins and Ryan Howard have to have that conversation, right?
And throw Chase Utley in there too. Yep.
Right. So you have, and those guys won a World Series before Halladay ever got here. One of the things people forget about that era of Phillies is that, and I'm not trying to, throw anybody on the bus, but no offense to Halladay, but he came here after they already won a World Series.
He wasn't in the World Series.
They were trying to extend that window. The whole point of bringing Halladay in here was they were trying to build on the window from 2008.
Correct.
And at the end of the day, they had to bring Cliff Lee back because having Halladay and Hamels wasn't enough, right? Remember, Pedro Martinez was pitching the 2009 World Series, for goodness sake.
True.
So to me, I think people forget how talented and how great guys like Rollins and Howard and Utley were, and that they were literally the foundation pieces of that run. People loved the pitching because at one point you had Halladay and Lee and Hamels and Oswalt, right? And everyone, the big four horsemen or whatever they called them at the time.
4 aces or something, yeah.
Right, the four aces, right. But guess what? Before three of those guys showed up, it was them literally hitting the waist of the game. I love what Jimmy Rollins said on the broadcast one day. He said, we knew we had to go out there and score 5, 6, 7, 8 runs a night to win.
Right.
And we were going to do it. And that's really why they won, because they literally smashed their way into the postseason for 3 straight years.
Very true. I mean, and if you want to go back earlier than that, why isn't Darren Dalton's number retired? He was the face of the Phillies for so long, so many years, and a leader in the clubhouse and in the community. Met an unfortunate, untimely death, and if you're going to do that, I mean, number 10, I guess he was number 10, right? Yeah. You could combine him with Larry Bowa at the same thing, and that would be 2 players for the uniform of 1. So, but yeah, there's a lot of guys throughout Phillies history that have had an impact with the team, been there a long time, played very well, were leaders and pillars in the community, and their numbers were not retired. So I don't know why you would pick this one to do it, but I guess they had their reasons. So you're right. If I imagine his passing had something to do with it, a lot to do with it actually. But I think they made a mistake in this case.
By the way, speaking of Rollins, I gotta say he is turning into my favorite part-time guy on the Phillies broadcast, because I feel like every time he's on the broadcast, he either says or explains something that I never would have thought of. That is an excellent point, excellent explanation of something that we saw. I wish we had more Jimmy Rollins on these broadcasts, because listen, no offense to Ben Davis, but he's Captain Obvious. Yeah. And, Kruk, I understand he kind of comes off as everybody's favorite grumpy uncle, but like when Jimmy's on the broadcast, he legitimately, you learn something from him every time.
Yeah, I mean that's the secret to a good analyst or broadcaster, the ability to teach you about the game, especially with former players. They have an insight that we just don't have, and they can lend their expertise to something that and then you wind up thinking, oh yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but you're right, and Jimmy's very good at that. You're right. I enjoy him as well.
All right, Dave, before I let you go, I seen on social media that you were golfing a good amount this past week. You've bounced around a lot.
I was.
So I want to know from you, not some photography skills, even though the picture of the geese was pretty cool.
Nice.
I want to know from you, can you give me, maybe you can't rank them off the top of your head, but give me an idea of your favorite places to play golf in South Jersey.
Oh, in South Jersey? Oh boy. I don't want to slight anybody, because I really enjoy all the courses.
Right.
Atlantic City is my favorite. Atlantic City Country Club, just the prestige and the history and the course. I really love that one. I like Seaview's Bay course where the LPGA is played. I enjoy Blue Heron. I enjoy Twisted Dune a lot. I'm a member at Cape May National, so I'm a little partial to there. there's like I got to say, there's like 6, 7, 8 courses in South Jersey, like just in Cape May and Atlantic counties that are on par with anything in the state. I think almost anything. And I've played courses all over the country, to be quite honest with you. And I would rank them right up there with any that I played.
There you go. Dave Weinberg, who knows way more about golf than I do, right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. At Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Extra Point Comms over at 97.3 ESPN.com. And, of course, don't forget the podcast, Tequila and Touchdowns, with Dave Weinberg.
There'll be a new one coming up on Friday, I promise.
There you go. New one coming up on Friday. There you go. So now what you got to do is you got to go subscribe. Make sure you have the alert on your phone. And that way, when the podcast comes out, you get alerted of it. It's how the system works, right?
That's right. Yep.
Dave, I always appreciate you jumping on. And I'm sure we'll be talking plenty of Eagles for the next few weeks coming up.
Yep. Thanks, Jeff. So I look forward to it. Thanks again, as always.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get your guys' thoughts and comments. Next text board is open, 609-403-0973. You also get a message show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. And we are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can follow us on YouTube and Twitter to watch the show at 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night.
This is Billy Schweim. Join me Friday night for 97.3 ESPN's live coverage of the South Jersey Lifeguard Championships live from Longport, New Jersey. Coverage starts at 6 p.m.
The South Jersey Lifeguard Championships are being brought to you by McCann Realtor, serving Seattle City since 1939. Dino's Subs and Pizza on Venter Ave in Margate. Blitz's Market with 2 locations in Ocean City at 21st and 34th Street. Lee's Builders of Margate, over 30 years of building custom homes. 7th and 11th Street Bike and Surrey Rentals at the Boardwalk in Ocean City, open 7 days a week.
New Jersey car owners, stop what you're doing and come see AJ, the trade-in man, at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Cancel that service appointment. Let your tires go bald. Don't put another penny in that old car. The value of your current vehicle has skyrocketed, so cash in your vehicle now. Used car values are at an all-time high. Your car may be worth more than you think. New 2021 Nissan Frontier 4x4 truck. 0 due at signing. Lease $349 per month. Stuck in a loan or lease? We can get you released. We'll buy your car for cash, even if you don't buy a car from us. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. Get $3,000 back on every 2021 Nissan Murano and pay 0 interest for 60 months in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot, or online at mattblattnissan.com. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Great qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. 0% APR based on 1667 per thousand borrowed. Offers can't be combined. 36 month, 10,000 miles per year lease. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattnissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 9/6/21. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
If your biggest question is, how can I find more customers? Then Town Square can help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you how the most successful businesses in South Jersey grow and how you can do it too. These strategies are simple, and we can show you how to apply them to your business. Be one of the first businesses to sign up, and you'll receive $500 in free advertising on this radio station. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. As always, we are live on YouTube, Twitter. Follow 97.3 ESPN to watch the show. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. Hump Day Wednesday edition of the broadcast. Of course, we are keeping an eye on the Eagles and the Phillies as preparations begin for the Phillies on their home stretch of the season, trying to hold on to the NL East. And, of course, the Eagles back in action tomorrow night. Great stuff for Dave Weinberg today. And, just to follow up what he was saying, I know that that's going to be a controversial thing, what Dave said about Roy Halladay. But here's the problem when it comes to sports sometimes. For as much as we love sports, and if you're listening to this show, you probably love sports too, right? We all have these emotional connections when it comes to players, when it comes to athletes, when it comes to situations. And I understand that a lot of people view certain players in certain lights. But the reality is that nothing that Dave said was wrong. Halladay only played here 4 years. And Roy Halladay is no longer with us. And you know what? That's a big reason why that he would get the attention that he did to have his number retired. Usually when you retire a player's number, it's because he has a long history with an organization. And the reality is that Roy Halladay had a couple of amazing seasons and amazing moments. But he didn't have the type of career resume in a Phillies uniform that other players did. The reality is that he's not top 10 in wins all time. You know who is? Cole Hamels and Curt Schilling. And neither one of them have their number retired. Innings pitched, Cole Hamels on that list. Roy Halladay is not. Strikeouts per 9 innings in Phillies history. Aaron Nola is number 1 on that list. Cliff Lee is 3. Cole Hamels is 4. Curt Schilling is 5. Roy Halladay is 6. Career strikeouts in Phillies uniform. Brett Myers is 10th on that list, and Roy Halladay he's not even on the list. That in of itself to me is hilarious. Oh, by the way, how about shutouts? Yeah, Halladay's not on the list because we all know who Tully Sparks is. Complete games, Halladay's not on the list. Tully Sparks is on that list too, by the way. The point of the matter is that I think that we have these emotional attachments to our athletes sometimes. I think it clouds our judgment when it comes to saying, listen, he was a great player with some great moments, and he's a Hall of Fame pitcher, but you don't have to retire his number. And I totally understand where Dave's coming from. There's something said for the fact that you have players like Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard, who, frankly, had much bigger careers in Phillies history than overall franchise history than Roy Halladay did. Doesn't diminish what Halladay did for his career, but what it says is that he did most of that in a Blue Jays uniform, as Dave Weinberg said. So I totally get where Dave's coming from. And I think there's something to be said with the fact that hopefully after this weekend, the Phillies realize of all the players who came out to support Roy Halladay and, be a part of this weekend with, his family and their friends, that look at the players who are in the building. Jimmy Rollins is number 1 in Phillies history in doubles. Number 1. Ryan Howard is number 2 in home runs in Phillies history. Those are two players who won MVPs in a Phillies uniform. And by the way, Chase Utley, he's 7th all-time in RBI. Ryan Howard is 3rd all-time in RBI. And Jimmy Rollins, 8th all-time in RBI. I think sometimes we forget certain players and we don't appreciate them enough because of how amazing they were. And when I think back to the 2007, 8, and 9 Phillies, all I think of is Rollins, Howard, Utley, Ruiz, Victorino. Then I get to a pitcher, Hamels. Then I mentioned Lidge and the bridge to Lidge for that 1 year. Then I remember, oh, by the way, we got Cliff Lee. Oh, by the way, we got Pedro Martinez. Then I get the Roy Halladay. Because that's how it really happened. I try to live in reality. And the reality is that when it came to the Phillies during that era, Roy Halladay never comes to the Phillies unless they're trying to extend that window of winning championships. So I hope the Phillies look around and saw all the great people who came out to support Roy Halladay this weekend. They realize that, when it comes to honoring former players, when it comes to retiring numbers, there's 3 guys need to be in that conversation ASAP before you retire anybody else's number. And you want to include a 4th guy, maybe you throw in there Darren Daulton as well for his leadership and being a part of the 93 Phillies. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Phillies back in action tonight. Andrew McCutchen back in the lineup. Big boost for the Phillies. You have going on the mound tonight Kyle Gibson going into his 3rd start in a Phillies uniform, taking on David Price, who has been all right as a starter. He had pitched the last couple of years as a reliever, hadn't been a starter as much, but they needed to be a starter now because the Dodgers are so deep that they needed David Price in the bullpen. Now they need him as a starter due to injuries, and it's part of the reason why they probably overpaid for Cole Hamels to come join them, even though he won't be available until the postseason, because let's be realistic. Their pitching situation is interesting. They don't have as much depth as they hoped. They're trying to get by, and they had to go out and get Scherzer, and they had to go out and sign Cole Hamels, because without Dustin May and without some of those other guys they had on that team before they got injured, this is still probably the best team in the National League, but it's going to be interesting to see down the stretch. Before I get out of here, so I saw this news, and those of you who listen to me for a long time know how much of a big UFC MMA guy that I am. So I saw the news today that former UFC champions Anderson Silva and Tito Ortiz are going to be boxing. Yeah. So next month, Triller, who is this boxing promotion, which I guess they exist somewhere in between the Pauls and Golden Boy promotions, I guess. They're more legitimate in terms of competitiveness, but they still want to put on these celebrity over the age guy matches that draw clicks and eyeballs. So Anderson Silva has 2 boxing matches in his career. He looked phenomenal, by the way, recently in his 1 boxing match. Tito Ortiz has never boxed. And on the top of the card is Oscar De La Hoya fighting a guy who fights in about 5 weight classes above him, Vitor Belfort. I'm going to tell you guys, I am not a fan of these, hey, let's box so we keep making money and get our fix when it comes to being fighters. I'm not a fan of it. I'm worried that some of these guys will get hurt. These athletes have to be protected from themselves, folks. I'm Josh Hennig. Catch you tomorrow.
The Philadelphia Eagles play on 97.3 ESPN FM. This Eagles season, listen to every game with the voice of the Eagles, Merrill Reese and Mike Quick. Pre-game coverage from the Eagles Radio Network starts 1 hour before kickoff. Your official home for Eagles football in South Jersey is 97.3 ESPN FM. Brought to you locally by
Boardwalk Honda. From Maine to Miami, nobody beats a Boardwalk deal. Online at BoardwalkHonda.com. Halby Electric, now offering residential services for your home and business. First Bank of Sea Isle, Cape May County's community bank. GMS Law, make the right call with 4 convenient locations to serve you. Visit gmslaw.com. Cape Regional Health System, for a healthier life. Call 609-463-CAPE. And BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think. Online at bmwatlanticcity.com.